What's up, everyone? It is Paul here to do a miniature live reaction to all that is going on in the NAB AFL 2022. Is it NAB anymore? It's the AFL Draft 2023. Now, as you can see, we've got the AFL stream running here, and there's been a bit that's gone on as of this point. We've had Harley Reid pick one, Colby McKercher, and Jed Walter at pick 3. Keep mine pick 3. Gold Coast didn't have that. That was an academy bid. There's been some trades going on in the back end, many of which involving the Gold Coast up to this particular point in time. And so there's been a lot going on up to this stage. But we're, of course, closing in on the Cats at pick 9 now. Things have slid due to the academy pick already. There's a whole range of questions being asked about this particular selection coming up next. We'll just mute Cal. Amazing, obviously, guest of Behind the Play from this season. We'll just dull Cal down for the time being, just to make things just a touch easier. But of course, we'll ramp things back up when the selection is made. This is a fascinating draft. There are so many combinations and permutations. But as a Cats fan, you've heard Ben and I talk about this on the review show, and there's been so much chat. I think it's really, really important as Cats fans that we are closely following what happens here. The Cats undoubtedly are looking for kind of key position talent, and there's kind of two front runners, I think, in the ballpark that we're going to be selecting here. Dan Curtin is the one that I personally am putting all of my eggs into. I really think he's got sky's the limit sort of potential, can play almost every position on the ground. The only thing he really can't do is be a full-time permanent ruck, because he's not quite tall enough to be that, but he could absolutely play the Mark Blitzarves kind of pinch hit in the ruck sort of role. There's a lot that the kid can do. North Melbourne is closing in on their 4th selection, which I'm expecting to be Zane Dersma. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we've already got Xavier, who's returned to Victoria in recent months to join the Bombers. So his brother might be just up the road in the near future here. But it's a really fascinating spot that we're in. Pick is in, so we'll turn things up just a smidge here.
With his ball use, the way he can take and float in marks, and yeah, he goes for his grab.
All right,
and that's really exciting. And his highlights package, if you go and find it after this show is done, this is only a snippet what we're about to show, I think. But after that, yeah, go and have a look at his highlights package, because some of the best goals you've seen. Is there one of these in there? No Arrow. He's his own man, but he's very different player to Xavier, very different player than to his 16-year-old brother, who's a chance to be a #1 pick in a couple of years.
What is in the water with this family? Like, it's quite incredible. And the pick is in for North Melbourne. And with pick 4, they've taken Zane Dersma. There you go,
there
Cal.
we go.
Another pick right for you. And
it's
gosh,
it's interesting. So like I've tuned into the Fox footage over the journey, and I know what's happening right now. I've taken a bit of a look. They've got the real kind of, we see the pick get made. We see the selection actually occur. We see the handover of the jersey from a legend of the club, the selected club. I know that, for example, Colby McKercher was handed to by Boomer. Harley Reid received his from Nick Nat Nui. I didn't actually catch who Jed Walter received his from. It's a fascinating one in that sense that I would have thought that we'd get to see that, especially considering it's the AFL's official stream. It's the AFL's event. How could they? How did Foxtel manage to secure some sort of exclusivity on this? Is absolutely beyond me. But we've got Hawthorn on the clock now. Nick Watson is kind of my go for that one. It seems to be the name that's kind of pretty tightly associated with them. The Dogs come after that, and I'm expecting Riley Sanders, who's a player who I'd absolutely love to slide down as an absolute gun midfielder. But I think we're starting to develop that midfield talent with those that we've brought in the last 12 months in particular. It's been a good time, I think, for the youthful Geelong midfield. Obviously, we've got some speed, we've got some youth, we've got all the right pieces in play there, and it's just a matter of kind of, I think, now hitting some of those key position players. And so that's where I think Dan Curtin is perfect for us. If not Dan Curtin, Nate Caddy. It would be fantastic to see one of those two boys join. Dan Curtin is the really ultra versatile one, as opposed to Nate, who he plays that key position role, but I think he's about 192, 193 centimeters tall, and so We don't necessarily, I guess, we don't have that same level of height and perhaps versatility with Nate Caddy. So it'd be really interesting to see kind of what happens there. But we've got Colby McKercher being spoken to at the moment. Will be a fantastic pick for the North Melbourne Football Club. They've obviously stocked up pretty heavily on youth over the course of the last couple of years. I don't think they'll be getting any more AFL handouts for a while, you would imagine. But yeah, it's a fascinating one. Let's see. We've got 2 minutes still to go for Hawthorn to make its pick. But yeah, you think about that Geelong midfield, and obviously we've got we brought in Jack Bowes with a bit of experience from the Gold Coast Suns. We also managed to get pick 7, which was huge for us in terms of what that unlocked. We got Tanner Bruin in the trade period last year. Max Holmes, as I mentioned, is already there. Jack Bowes. That pick 7 unlocked Jai Clark for us. There's a lot of really exceptional youth through the Geelong midfield, and so as much as someone like a Riley Sanders would be fantastic, I just don't see it happening at this particular stage. So I don't think he's going to slip past the Dogs, to be honest. And that's if Hawthorn doesn't take him, because I totally would understand Hawthorn going for him as well. But Curtin, let's hedge our bets on Dan Curtin. Will the Cats or one of the earlier clubs do something and maybe have a crack at Ethan Reid, who's one of the Gold Coast Academy players? He's that might force us down to pick 10 before we have our ultimate selection. But I'm hopeful that I'm surprised. Like North went pick 2 and they picked McKercher. Pick 3 they then made the contested bid on Jed Walter, and I don't understand why a club in a position like North Melbourne was in this particular instance wouldn't make Gold Coast pay the ultimate premium. Go pick 2. Make them pay even more for the selection. Same idea with all these other clubs that might have an interest in Ethan Reid. Now Geelong, obvious, kind of the ruck has kind of been our thing now. I believe in Toby Conway. Toby Conway is the future, and I think he's going to be an exceptional ruckman for us. But who's Hawthorn picked up? Taking a little while to come through. Don't know why. We'll see the Dogs on the clock in a sec. Yeah, I think... Oh, jeez. Look, it's hard to know what we're going to do, but I don't understand why clubs aren't making Gold Coast pay the absolute premium. There we go, Nick Watson.
Have selected the wizard in Nick Watson. I'm going to do a little fist bump.
You're excited. He's going to excite everyone for a long time to come. Nick Watson, he's as good as...
Just dial that down a little bit. But obviously you can see the highlights reel. Incredibly talented. 170 centimetres or thereabouts, if I recall. So I guess the question is... And kind of playing that small forward role. Obviously, he's brilliant. We know what some of the small forwards in this competition can do. I mean, you don't have to look any further than Toby Green to see how dominant a small forward can be in the game these days. But at 170 centimetres tall, he's not going to grow, so he's not going to be a big marking option at any point. He's not going to have that extra string to his bow. He might be great in a contest, but he's not going to be, he's not going to be tall. He's not going to have the reach. He's always going to be kind of outgunned and outpointed in that regard. So to go with a player with that sort of stature at pick 4 is interesting. The Hawthorn midfield, needs some work, I think. There's obviously a lot of talent there, and I think they're going to go a long way very soon. But I could totally see him going for a Riley Sanders. So I'm surprised they didn't. But with 3:43 on the clock, that's where I expect. That's what I expect will happen with the Bulldog selection here. Riley Sanders. I'm sure they're fielding, like all the other clubs, they are fielding calls from opposition clubs as we speak. We are closing in on the Cats at pick 9 currently. But again, I have a feeling that maybe it'll become pick 10 with one of these clubs, Bulldogs, Melbourne, GWS, or even ourselves, having a crack at Ethan Reid to see what comes of that. It's one of those crazy things that we haven't, we hardly have picks in the top 10 Geelong. We're going to have 2 in a row, but our pick 7, that wasn't because we've placed in that position. Obviously, we got that bundled up for Jack Bowes. And then, of course, this year, our pick 8 may slide to pick 10 at this point. There's a lot of water to pass under the bridge in that regard. I'll make sure my cursor's hovering around here so that I can crank the volume as is required. But It's kind of the crazy state of the draft these days, and I don't necessarily mean that in a disparaging way. It makes it increasingly hard for pundits, and imagine Callum Riley here, for example, who do so much work on the likes of Gettable and those sorts of programs, to be able to accurately predict what's actually going to happen, because there are so many pick swaps involved. There's splitting your picks. There's all those sorts of things that can possibly the points. Then on top of that, there is what the club wants, what is going to be best for their list, and it becomes so hard to predict. Now these guys obviously have the access that so many of us don't, and so they get the opportunity to have a chat and glean a bit of insight into who the various clubs are interested in, how they kind of prioritize them, and that probably allows them to then form a more coherent list. That's why we see a lot of these phantom drafts being fairly similar at the end of the day, with only some mild differences. And I think actually around our club it's been Nate Caddy and Daniel Curtin that have kind of been there or thereabouts. We know West Coast though are interested in Dan Curtin, and maybe if they get a sniff of another club wanting to have a crack, they might offload. They might try and trade an early pick from 2024's draft to lock him down, to trade in and get Dan Curtin. And I guess as a Geelong fan, we'll see what happens, because there's a lot kind of racing through the brain right now as we close in on our pick 8, 9, 10, or 9 or 10, I guess, whatever it ends up being. But I don't think I'd be close-minded if... Oh, here we go, pick's in. I don't think I'd be too close-minded if we did actually, accept West Coast first-round pick or something to give them Dan Curtin. Not because... you obviously heard me ranting about Dan Curtin before, but if we were to collect pick 1 off West Coast, or their first round pick from next year, that could be like pick 1, pick 2 next year, because the West Coast ship's not going to turn around that fast, I don't think. We've obviously seen some clubs really rise fast, but I don't think... There we go, Riley Sanders.
For the Western Bulldogs, an excellent choice by them. We've talked about him at length tonight, but he is just such a classy player, and it's no wonder North Melbourne wanted to keep him with their next generation academy, Cal.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that what we see from him is class all over the field. He does it consistently.
Kid can play.
He's able to really push the limits in terms of...
Now the D's are a really fascinating one with this next pick. It's hard to get a bit of a read as to what they're into at the moment. They've been talking about tall forwards and those sorts of things as well. Makes it really, really, tall key position players, really. The name that continues to get attached to them, though, actually ends up being Caleb Windsor. Now, I don't know if that's the way they'll ultimately go. We'll learn more about that shortly. But Caleb Windsor, I believe, is like a mid 180s player. He plays, he's more of a midfielder. And think about that D's midfield already. Viney, Petrarca, Oliver, all feeding from Max Gawn. We'll turn the interview down now. I don't quite understand the rationale of either Melbourne, if this is where it ends up going, or even where our phantom drafts are kind of at. It seems odd to me when I think about the Melbourne list. Now, it could be as simple as we are picking who we believe to be the best available player. And I obviously respect that. Like, I really respect that policy that the D's and a lot of other clubs, the D's might potentially be adopting in this case, and what a lot of other clubs have done in the past. We know the Cats are, prone to just go, no, this is who we believe is the best. We don't care if they actually don't fit a need. We just think this is the player that we need to select. And it's proven to be incredibly successful over the years. But at the same time, it doesn't quite add up. So, we'll wait and see, I suppose. Like, we're getting really close. 2.5 minutes now until the D's make their selection, whatever that selection ends up being. I'll just turn the volume up just a touch.
Can't wait to get stuck in with him. He's on a real coach, and it just shows him.
All right, Riley, Callan, that over to you.
Jed,
Yeah, it's... Oh, there we go. So we've got the interview with Jed Walters continuing. It's... Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get a read. Obviously, every club has its own priorities, its own systems, and it has its own beliefs, and that begins with kind of the head recruiter in a lot of these instances. but is guided by the coaching staff around them in terms of, they'll identify their needs, what they want, and then your opinion of the best available player shifts and can kind of mold based on that. So it's a nice easy line. It's the 1 week at a time. That's kind of the equivalent within this space, that we'll pick the best available player, and then it's a good optical thing. It works in a whole range of different positive ways. So we'll see. As things stand, we've got 2 clubs to select before us: the D's and then the Giants. Dan Curtin remaining on the table at this point is exciting. It's exciting. I could be very disappointed imminently, for all I know. But let's hope, because this guy is a Matty Pavlich-like player. He's a Mark Blitzars-like player. He's, to use the words of LeBron James describing Victor Wembanyama, kid could be a unicorn. So I'm fascinated to see what happens here. We've got a minute to go on the D selection. Obviously, that is being dragged out because of the Jed Walter thing now. Oh, here we go.
I'm just happy to be a Suns player at this point.
Well done, Jed. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We'll let Sarah Ollie
Who have we
get
got?
into the box.
We'll get the volume up.
Put her shoes back on. Thank you so much to Sarah Ollie and Jed Walter. Sarah Ollie, of course, doing a fabulous job. I was looking for my box earlier tonight, and she has stolen it. So she's putting it to good use. That is for sure. All right, the pick is in for
Not
Melbourne.
a great choice of words there.
7, of course, things have been shuffled around with, of course, the bid for Jed Walter early
Caleb
on.
Windsor.
And
All right.
Caleb Windsor is now officially a Demons player.
All right,
Talented
we could be
winner who really
this
shot into
close
calculations
to Dan
later
Curtin.
in the season and his combine
The
performance
Giants,
too, Cal, really put him on
understandably,
the back.
could be really interested in a player like him. So I don't know. I don't know at this point. James Leake is another player that's kind of in this ballpark. I don't know actually if the Giants have expressed too much, expressed too much interest in him up to this point. But he's in that ballpark. We're talking about James Leake. We're talking about Dan Curtin. We're talking about Nate Caddy. Like, all these players are in the ballpark. There's Connor O'Sullivan.
In the end, it didn't go that way, but
I don't know.
I don't know if he'll be playing straight away because he's still
hard to get a read. I'll just turn that volume down a little bit again.
I think that's probably part of the excitement for the Demons as well in terms of the long-term addition that he can be on their wing. The MCG's made from
I'm interested, but I'm excited because we are very, very close now to Geelong's first pick in the draft. Now, this is going to be a recording that will end after we have the Geelong selection. I've got a few things on tonight, including watching more of the draft. So I don't want to drag this out. I kind of want to share in the initial excitement with you around what the Cats select. We've got about, in less than 10 minutes, we will know, presumably, who's joining the Geelong Football Club. 10 to 15.
Massive. So the Crows are coming for this pick. That's the talk of the last little bit. The Crows are coming for this pick now.
All right, apparently the Crows are coming for this pick.
Keep the pick themselves. They still have to go through this process over the next little bit. West Coast has its future first-round pick on the table here to get Dan Curtin. Do they make that deal with West Coast, the Giants? They've also got options to go with the Bombers, who've interested.
There you go. So apparently the Eagles and the Giants have been chatting too. And this is the Dan Curtin thing I'm talking about. Like, Dan Curtin is this huge puzzle piece in the draft this year. The Eagles could slip in here and make the selection.
Have they gotten that room?
There's a couple, and I've seen the procedure as well. They have to call up and say, this is person X talking to Club Y, and this is the trade we're going to put through.
I think they're doing it, Cal.
This is happening at the moment.
So if Adelaide get this, do Adelaide want Curtin too?
Well, that's the decision then. Do they trade it on to West Coast for the future first-round pick? And there's a chance they do that, or they just take Daniel Curtin and say, this guy is our guy. We're happy with him. We've done the work. But there's no doubt that, as we said a couple of picks ago, this one was heading this way. As soon as Dan Curtin got through,
trade is in.
I thought that was going to be
Adelaide's. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, there is a lot
Don't you steal
here
Dan
to
Curtin from under our nose.
We will get to Sarah Ollie very shortly, who has Zane Dursley.
Don't you steal Dan Curtin from under our nose.
The trade is done.
So what do they got? Pick 11, 15, and round 2 for next year. Crows got 8 and 17.
So that's interesting. That gives the Giants a little bit of a higher pick in that next pick. So that has actually ended up happening. They've swapped their 2 first picks around, and now the Crows have the option to either hold the pick and take
Now I'm getting nervous. Now, of course,
on to West Coast.
What do you think they do?
Dan, Nate, whoever we pick up,
It's a massive
if we don't grab, if we miss Dan Curtin to anyone, like I'm apologise for whoever selected, and my relative disappointment that might happen here. But leave him alone. Leave him alone, Adelaide.
Because now all of a sudden the clubs immediately after, clubs like Geelong, who's the next pick, Essendon, who's the pick after that, they weren't banking on this
Melbourne
24 hours
again,
ago.
Sydney.
Yeah, there's so many clubs now that this impacts. So this is the bombshell. This draft it's been bubbling away for such a long period of time. We get it now.
Okay, we'll come back to this because Zane Dersma is standing by.
No, we don't want to chat to Zane Dersma now. We want to know what Adelaide's going to do. They'll request more time.
Indeed, off to Arden Street, Zane. Now, be honest, you have some rogue friends back there because when your name was read out, it was a one almighty call.
Correct. Yeah, no, the family was pretty happy to hear that. So, hear my name called out. So, yeah, they were
I saw the name flick up on the screen for a second. Thought it was Adelaide's selection. Come on.
When it comes to footy, Xavier at Essendon and Yasmin at Port Adelaide. What was it like growing up in that house in Costa?
It was very, very competitive. As
And you know, what does this mean for all those other guys? Like if no, don't.
No matter what we did, it was always a competition. So yeah, it was fun.
And I guess Xavier, this was him 5 years ago, I believe.
Correct,
Have you lent on him for some advice with how to deal with the draft experience? Because it's now pretty big.
Yeah, I think he's been a good mentor to me in the sense of just telling me to enjoy this year and enjoy the draft experience. So yeah, he's been really good.
Oh, the Crows pinched him. I could hear it in the background.
In the AFL.
Oh,
And Zane, I will get to you in just a moment.
damn it,
but
damn it,
I do
damn it, damn it.
believe Adelaide's
Damn it.
pick is in, and they have taken with pick number 8, Dan Curtin from WA
Bastards.
Cal. This
Ah.
is massive.
Huge call. They paid the price to move up the board to get him. The Giants clearly didn't want to get him at their football club. They didn't want him for their back line. Adelaide did. They beat out the crowd to go and grab it. The Giants still want to pick in this top 10, so that's why they've done this move.
All right, let's get back to Zane. Sorry to put you on hold there, Zane. We are so excited for you. Congratulations, of course, on being drafted tonight. Just talk me through your season because
That stinks.
I spoke
But
to you a
the Cats
little
are on,
earlier in the year
so,
at the combine, later
you know,
in the year,
does
and you just
it
talked
become
about
Nate Caddy,
being
who's the
able to
other
find your
kind of
self-belief and your confidence in
player that
yourself?
has been
Just talk me through that.
pretty closely associated with our mob?
So I
Does
think that
does
start
Wellesley
was
pull something out of the
a
hat?
slow start, and then I think after that last championships game against Big Metro,
Obviously, you know, when it comes to the tall forward options, and that's where all the key position forward options, and that's where, you know, Nate Caddy kind of resides. But you know, can actually roam through the midfield as a bit of a pinch hitting midfielder. The Cats' position is obviously fairly clear cut when it comes to the tall forward options. Hawke is 36 years old, and you know, took a while for him to get his 1 year contract. So you might imagine he's only 12 months away, despite everything he's been doing on field. Jeremy Cameron is 31, and you know, he's not getting any younger, despite how, you know, being the best player in the comp for the first 7 or 8 rounds of the season.
no, not yet. Yet to
You know,
hear
the
from
next generation needs to come through, and we've got the likes of Shannon Neal, we've got Phoenix Foster, exceptional prospects, but you know, there might be an element of raw talent to the likes of Nate Caddy that is hard to ignore. So we're minutes away from learning about who the Cats pick. It'll be interesting to see if they go for Ethan Reid and we drag this out for another 5 minutes on top of it. Is there a trade? God help me if there's a trade. I said I was going to stick around for the Cats' first selection, and it may not happen right away. So
very much, Nat. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
we'll see what happens there.
Bummed that didn't get to Hawthorn, but anyway, continue.
You've got the Wizard. So Adelaide now is officially the curtain raiser. They pushed up the board to grab him
How
and
long have
made
you
one of
been
the biggest
sitting on that?
moves in draft history now. We haven't seen this happen before. A club shift into the top 10 to do that. So he is a huge get for them. They go and grab their key defender.
Look at him, key
Now
defender,
changes
but then
the
everything you
complexion
see
of
is
the
him
next few picks. I think
dominating as a
Caddy now
midfielder.
is right in
The
line
guy
to
is
be the Cats
unreal,
selection.
and I'm
The Bombers
filthy
would
that we've
have
missed
been
out on
hoping
that one.
he'd get through to their selection. What do they
Changes
do
a
then?
lot, doesn't it?
Do they go and grab
Adelaide
James
deserve
Leake?
for
I
him
think
to
for the
go,
next
just get
few picks
homesick
now
and go
does sort of change
to
the
go
order of how
back
it
to
looks.
West Coast now, as far as I'm
Conor
concerned.
O'Sullivan as well, is he a chance now to get through to that Giants pick? What do they do at pick 10? Is he the right guy for them? Do they have another option up their sleeve? So there's a few options there.
James
but I do
Leake,
think now
Ethan
the Cats
Reid,
with Caddy,
Nate Caddy.
O'Sullivan. They've also looked at Leake and Darcy Wilson. I think probably that one of the tools though would be the fit here.
So this is the first time a club has traded into the top 10 to get a player. I mean, we've seen first round trades happen before for players to get nabbed in the draft, but this is the first time a club has traded into the top 10 to go with a player.
All right.
It's a pretty remarkable moment.
So just to recap, Adelaide
We're nearly there. We're nearly there. We've got a minute and a half to go before the Cats have to act in one way or another. So let's see. Let's see where we end up. Adelaide, you suck.
And the other tactic there is that it means that they get ahead of a couple of other clubs to make an option there as well.
Pick is in.
Maybe potentially.
Nah, you watch. It'll be Ethan Reid, and we gotta sit tight for a little bit longer.
Which also he's been in the mix for those other clubs, that Edwards and Gothard possibility.
And the Crows still have another pick. They've still got 20, which becomes 21 now. Is it Cal? I think 21 at the moment. So they've still
Come on, what's gonna happen?
The other part here is we've tipped the Cats to make bids here, so there could be Ethan Reid, Jake Rogers potentially. Could we said before at the start of the show? Could they do the double act as well and go?
Oh my God! Don't do a double act.
I don't know if that's going to be the way they go, but I think Reid would be the obvious one. That's probably
Bid pending. So there you go, Ethan Reid.
Have all the points that they need, right?
Yeah, the Suns are prepped. That's why they did those 4 trades at the start of the night, or those 3 trades at the start of the night.
I won't make you do the maths. So there you go. Geelong, as you said, Cal, in your Phantom draft as well, have put a bid on, of course, Gold Coast Academy player in Ethan Reid. They're going to match that.
They'll match that.
Tell me about Ethan Reid. He's one of the best.
So they get Ethan Reid and pick 49 and lose 34, 38, and 40. It's not a big price to pay, really. That's why they've done everything they've done. So of course they'll take him. So we've got 5 more minutes to wait. And that's if they don't do the double act, as Cal was suggesting. So pick 8 has become pick 10. Does pick 10 become pick 11? Do I go insane in the meantime? All will be revealed.
It's just important to note as well, it's Adelaide's future too, because Adelaide also have Melbourne's future too as part of that trade for Shane McAdam, wasn't it?
Oh, geez, I'm so disappointed about Dan Curtin.
So it is
I'm
Adelaide's
so disappointed about Dan Curtin.
I think we might have some.
The Adelaide Crows, you pricks.
So we'll wait and see what Gold Coast are doing, but I'm pretty certain
They're a bit slow to act.
from Geelong.
There we go. It's done now.
Are back on the clock. So that means the Suns have matched the bid.
Hopefully we can come, like if we're go on the double act, just get another bid in.
Yeah, that's right.
Make him earn it.
2 centimetres.
Let's
He
get to
was
our
up
selection.
Yellows, where he was an All-Australian in the ruck role for that side. He was one of the best players for the Gold Coast Academy across the whole year. He's able to run around the
Look at him.
As Nat said, he just loves running. he also averaged about 20 touches at the championships too, so he's able to get the footy. And that's
Dean Cox-like figures.
The tools who know their way around the ground and also around the footy itself.
And he's going to have time to develop the Gold Coast.
All right.
So Jared Witt's obviously the captain, one of the best rucks in the competition, an experienced player. He's
Don't-
going to be the number 1 ruck. Ed Boyle, who rival club.
No, I want to see Gold Coast. Like, okay, if they're going to go the double act, or they're considering the double act, absolutely go for it, please, Geelong, because I want to see these pricks earn it at this point. We've lost Dan Curtin, so cause a bit of chaos. Cause some... Just rip the joint up, and then pick Nate Caddy afterwards. All my chips are on Nate Caddy now at this point. James Lee, he was about mid to late 180 centimetres, so he's too small. Connor O'Sullivan, I don't really remember his kind of stature. I think he's a key defender, though, if I recall. So, you know, it could be one to consider. May not be quite as versatile as we're talking about, but, you know, you pop him up with Sam DeConing.
Special, walking up there, seeing him walked up there as well was a really special moment and something I'll treasure forever.
Oh, I didn't hear who that was. To see him paired up with, say, a Sam DeConing with Tom Stewart and all those guys around would be... It's a pretty exciting prospect when you think about it. So, you know, I think we need to target the tall forwards more. But I could go a key defender. That pairing of, yeah, Sam and Connor O'Sullivan as 2 tall key defenders would be huge. I didn't really consider it because I didn't consider the Dan Curtin thing to play out the way that it did. So, given that, Connor O'Sullivan's someone I can get around, I think. I'm just taking a bit of a look around at some other, you know, I'm bringing up some of the Phantom drafts and those sort of things now. Let's see.
I just like look at Tom Papley, like all those small.
Yeah, so the
love a bit of RG Barge.
oh, we've made our pick. Here we go.
Looking
Wait.
forward to seeing that out
What?
next year. And Nat, I reckon you're probably looking forward to it.
We've
as
slipped
well.
back a pick. Essendon's in.
Much indeed looking forward to having the Wizard on board in the brown.
What has just
gold.
happened?
Nick, what's it going to be like, do you think, learning from someone like Luke Bruce?
Yeah, obviously training there the last couple of years.
Another trade into pick 10.
Me aside a couple of times, and him and Dilmore I
Ah.
looked up to a fair bit when I trained there. So yeah, that helps. Having Luke Bruce there, that's obviously kicked that many
This
goals,
is
as a
the
small
first
forward.
round
Yeah,
that won't end.
Dad and Mum are really keen for me to work under him.
Are the Bombers about to pinch Nate? Are the Bombers about to pinch Nate Caddy?
In the draft as well, we've seen a move. We've seen the Bombers move up one spot to jump ahead of the Cats into pick 10. I think Nate Caddy would be right in their sights there.
Pick
Obviously,
31.
pick 31 to make that happen.
To slide back, we
Slide back for
slid
one
back a
spot as
pick
well,
and
so
got pick
keep an eye on Nate
31.
Caddy here for the Bombers. Hey Nick, well done mate. We're wrapped for you. We didn't bring our wizard hats in tonight. We thought we'd give that a spell tonight, but
Right, picks in. So I'm expecting Nate Caddy at this point. I'm expecting them to go Nate Caddy.
trained at the Hawks earlier this year. How much does that help you feel like you're going to fit
What?
in pretty quickly?
What?
Yeah, again to meet most of the boys, I feel comfortable, and knowing a lot of the coaches as well. And Sam Mitchell, I got along with him really well, so yeah, I feel very comfortable heading in.
What about just being local as well? And
Big
how
Raw.
easy that is for you?
Yeah,
Feels like
very
Nate Caddy.
easy, probably get to stay home, which is good. So even
The
though
Bombers
I'm
have
still working
selected
at the house, Mum's sick
Nate
now,
Caddy.
but I'll stay at home, which is handy.
Nick, we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of the night. Congratulations on being the newest Hawk. Go and enjoy.
Surely.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Nick Watson.
Surely we're done.
At Waverley, and the pick is in Essendon with pick number 10. Have taken Nate Caddy, the forward. They've had their eye on him for a little while, Cal.
They have. They will be absolutely rapt about this selection. He's the man that they have wanted.
Then again, we don't have a great history with caddies, do we? The
The
prick left and went to Richmond, won a few flags.
Looking for someone else, I think they would have known that the Bombers were going to get up and
No, Josh Caddy was a great player.
look at O'Sullivan potentially or Leake or Wilson, but look, this is a great move from the Bombers. Jake Stringer, well, he's coming towards the back end of his career. Clearly, This
I
is
don't know what to expect anymore.
and maybe even a little bit more in the air. I mean, his wingspan is enormous.
We squeezed a pick out of the Bombers. Pick 31. Obviously there's no you're not getting bad players in the 30s. But
Rated really highly. It's a big get.
I mean that's the first pick of night one. What do we got picked? Oh, I need to get the full draft order, but I believe we had pick. No, sorry, we had 25, which is one of the first in night 2. The pick 31 now shortly after. Look, it helps in a sense because we obviously had 8, became 10, it's become 11. 25, whatever happens with that, where that's kind of slid now is obviously all over the shop with picks that Gold Coast are giving up and all the stuff that's going on. But now pick 31. So we've got we've gone from 8th to 11th. We've got 2 in the second round now, early in the second round.
Yeah, the curtain call got me, but that's okay. And now we wait and see if the Giants end up with Leake in a couple of spots as well, because the Cats now on the clock today take Leake. I think the Giants would look at Leake if he's available. They could also look at a couple of other options that might be on the board too, but O'Sullivan, Leake look like being the next group of players.
Okay, so Geelong.
But we're happy with 9 out of 10. It was a tough year.
Take it. It was a very, very tough year. I don't know how you do it. It's quite incredible the amount of work you do.
I want to go.
all year,
I want to go O'Sullivan at this
with
point.
draft coverage.
James
It
Leake
blows my mind. Again,
doesn't
and
quite like.
Riley, you've done an amazing
Brilliant
job
player,
too.
I think.
So congratulations to both of you. It's
But,
not done yet because this is just night 1 of our draft coverage. We've got night
He's
2
also a
coming
Tassie kid, if I
tomorrow.
recall.
Expecting probably
Hang on,
now
let me see if I can find that.
28 or so picks
James
tonight,
Leake.
and then maybe another 30 or so tomorrow night.
Player profile.
Riley, the Cats.
Hamstring strain stopped League from
204
testing the
left on
versatile
clock. There's
Tasmanians.
no
So
more phone
my
calls
concern
taken
around
yet.
that
Are they going to take a selection?
is that the Tassie team is not far away. Do we lose James Leake? If that's the case? Connor O'Sullivan, on the other hand, let me double check. Murray Bushrangers, so he's Victorian. He's also, a country boy.
Really good spot there. And we spoke to Stephen Wells last night on Draft Night Countdown. He said he was really happy with the sort of players that were in that second round.
Let's go.
region
Yeah,
for
I'm
the Cats to take there. So now they've got a couple
I'm
of
on Connor O'Sullivan now. We've got a minute and a half
bit higher.
or less.
First round potentially, it's an option for them. We'll see, but it's going to be really fascinating, Cal, to see what might be on their agenda with these next couple of picks. And as you mentioned, whether or not it's James Lee, whether or not it's Connor O'Sullivan, whether or not it's one of those guys in that mix.
Yeah, I think both
close.
those guys would be the guys. And then Melbourne, if they get through a couple of picks, Colton Tholstrup, who's been linked to them pretty strongly as well.
We're real close.
And then the Swans,
35 minutes in.
someone slipped through.
And we should have had our pick in probably about
Would still
10 to
get a
15
chance
minutes
to
ago.
slip through. I don't think it happens though. So that was a big move from the Bombers. I think they'll just
Come on.
taking a step back. I mean, that's this. We are seeing some big plays made, and I think we're 5 years in now of live trading, and
Here we go. We've made a
there was
selection.
No trades made between the end of the trade
Do
period and the start
not
of
go
the
for
draft.
that Gold Coast kid.
You know, that
I
happens.
can't
Obviously, there's been
deal with
trades
this any
and
longer.
their business there. It's all just
Connor O'Sullivan.
And that's why there is
Connor
so much need for
O'Sullivan.
this little draft intelligence. It's important, and then that's why these guys, O'Sullivan and Leaker, in the frame here.
And we mentioned it with Dan Curtin. There'd been no trades into the top 10 for a player. Now we've had two in the 1 year with Dan Curtin and then Nate Caddy. So it's funny how it can all change around. As we say, the pick is in from Geelong.
We've had a selection.
And
Yes!
with pick
Yes!
number 11,
Yes!
Geelong have selected
Excellent.
the boy from
Fantastic
Albany in
selection.
Connor O'Sullivan, a key defender and an all-round good chap, I reckon.
No, you're spot on about that, Nat. He's a quality character, adds to their defensive
just-
group. And that's something that we can see in partner, potentially, Sam De Koning in the future as well. What he can do in the air is exceptional. He's an interceptor, was so good for the Allies and also for the Murray Bushrangers at stages throughout this season, dominant in that part of the ground. Of Jake Lever type, Harris Andrews type, that's the type of key back we're looking at here.
And they lost to
that's
Sava
exciting.
during the trade period. We know that. So they've been after some key position depth to bolster that area of the field. Jake Kolajasny, who's filled a role for him for a long time, he's a free agent next year. Not saying he's going to leave, but it's just someone that's going to be on their radar as a free agent. So they've clearly needed to fill this area as a key position defender. Connor O'Sullivan will certainly do that.
If you're just tuning in for the first time on afl.com.au, the Giants traded their pick with Adelaide, so they've moved back. They're now on the clock here.
Right.
At pick number 12.
That
And while
is
we
where
wait
we're
for them
going
make
to
the
wrap things up.
decision, with pick
Finally,
number 6,
Geelong
the
have made their
Western
selection,
Bulldogs
but it was an
selected
awesome one.
Riley
Connor O'Sullivan.
Sanders, and he's standing by
Still-
now with Sarah Ollie.
Still hurting a little bit that we missed Dan Curtin.
Riley off to the Western
But the Crows pulled off
Bulldogs.
something
You're a
really
Western
exceptional with
Bulldogs
that. So,
player.
you
How
know,
does
good
that
on him.
sound?
All credit to them. But Connor O'Sullivan, a fantastic choice, really addresses a need for the Cats. And so I'm excited to see what he can become at the Cattery.
Have a little
Welcome
inkling that
to
perhaps
Geelong,
it would be
Connor
going to
O'Sullivan.
Grenoble.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Go check out all things on the Hoop Show. We've got match reviews. The girls are going to be playing the prelim final this week against the Lions. Wishing them all the best.
Now, I love
Thank you
your
everyone for
story
tuning
from
in.
the Apple Isle from Tasmania.
Remain Geelong
Come up
strong
to
and we'll see you later.